where should your bankroll come from? Is it better to use your savings rather than borrowing against from a bank versus anything that is supposed to be for your retirement and all that stuff? Well, we definitely don't want to touch the retirement funds. That would be just out of hand because we all have to understand a bankroll can easily get wiped out, and usually happens in the beginning when you're you don't it takes a while to get used to the casino environment. And when we say while, it could take even several months sometimes, because every night we go into casino, we face something that we didn't expect. That's the problem, and we don't know how to handle it. Of course, if it's a really bad situation, then the wisest thing to do is get back in the car and go home. But a lot of times, the drive might have been, a couple of hours, hour and a half, and it's hard to do that. And most of us, we say, okay, well, this is a bad night because it's just packed. Everything is just busy, and you can't get a decent game in, and you can't really go home either. So that's just one example of what could happen. So what are most of us do? So, well, I'll just try it, and next you know, because it's just a crazy night, you end up losing, and now you're chasing the buck. See, that's how it happens. When casino is crazy, it's hard to get a game in my opinion. So you don't want it too slow because you don't want to stand out, and you don't want it too crazy either. Something in between. So, in my experience, weeknights are great. Sunday nights are great. Sunday through Thursday are great. And Friday, Saturday, I personally like these little local card rooms, because even on Friday and Saturday, they don't get that packed. They don't, you still can get a seat, especially the blackjack table. And the Spanish 21 is, they're usually going to have a $5 table and a $10 table. The $10 table, in my opinion, is not worth it, because you're going to keep losing your wagers, And if they're doing 10 rounds per shoe, okay, and regardless of how many bonuses you get, unless you get really super lucky and get 2 suited bonuses, make $300 some in each one, which is really unusual. It could happen. It does happen, but you can't bank on that. So the most you can bank on is about 1 suited match, which will bring you, depending on how much your wager is, it can bring you anywhere from $350 to $700, right? But you can, if you don't get it, what happens? Well, what happens is you lose anywhere from 10 to, depending on how much you put on your wager, $10 to $20 per hand, okay? And you multiply that by 10, let's say 10 rounds per shoe, right? So you're going to be losing anywhere from 100 to 250. You're going to win some hands, right? So anywhere from $100 to $250 per shoe. That's kind of heavy, because even if you get a couple of non-suited matches, that'll bring you down to about maybe $100, okay? Now, on the second shoe, if you do get a suited match, and you only waging, enough to make $350 on, and after losing a few hands in the second shoe, you haven't really made $350, have you? you've made something like 200. So if that's enough, then great. You can go home. And don't, because major casinos, as far as I'm concerned, they're crazy on the weekends. And they probably watch more during the weekend. Sometimes you can risk it and go to high limit rooms that might have double deck blackjack, which is a piece of cake, but then they watch it really closely. So weekends are really, that's the way I handle the weekends. So smaller card rooms near your residence maybe, and just go there for 2-3 hours or whatever, and but just a few awkward casino visits, even during the week, can really affect your bankroll. In some cases, when people are new, the whole bankroll gets wiped out. So then you got to think, you just wiped out your retirement fund or your savings. You can't. That's just not. You just can't do that. You need savings, because most of us, what happens when we're new and we get wiped out, well, what are the choices? The choices are: one, join a team, which is a major decision, because now you're using somebody else's money, and there are restrictions, and you probably have to travel, and is that something you want to do? The other option is borrow money. That's even worse, from people, maybe a friend or a relative that's willing to invest. But then now you got the stress of using somebody else's money. You're under pressure to make them money, and what if that gets wiped out, and so I think it might be actually wiser to use money from a bank. If you have a line of credits or your credit cards, so there should be a retirement fund that you don't touch, and there should be a certain amount of savings that you don't touch. Okay, bankroll's got to be separate from all of that. So what might be a better idea is, instead of touching your bankroll, just borrow money from a bank. And it's going to be expensive, but you have worst comes to worst, if it gets wiped out, well, then you have plan B, which is to use your own bankroll. And by this time, hopefully you've got enough experience where you can start winning. And as you start winning, then you can pay back the bank, pay monthly payments. How much could it possibly be, right? Even if they are charging a fortune in interest. You still, if you're making, $5, $6, $7, $8, $1,100 a night, then who cares what the payments are? The payments are probably maximum $300, $400, $500 a month, and you can make that in one day, right? But the point is, you still have your savings, okay? You still have your bankroll, and you still have your retirement fund. Those haven't been touched yet. So you use the bank's money. This is like a business, right? And a lot of people do that. It's they borrow money from a bank, even though they have tons of money sitting in their bank accounts. I think that's a much smarter way to go about this. And if it doesn't work, right? Maybe you have some kind of a job. Just pay it back with your income. If you're short, then you can take so much out from your bankroll every month, in case you decide to go back. Some people just quit; they never go back, because they think this is just too much of a roller coaster, and they can't handle the losing streaks. So if you do decide to go back, even if your loan is wiped out, the money you bought it from the bank, you still have your bankroll, because you have it. So you have to budget it. So every month you pay so much towards this bank loan that got wiped out, and then you have some left to play with, you know. But if that bankroll gets wiped out, then you're done pretty much, you know, unless you can get the family member or something. But you know, personally, that's how I would arrange the bankroll. You know, instead of using my own, if you have good credit, instead of using your bankroll. Now, I'm not talking about savings. I'm not talking about retirement fund. Those are completely separate. I'm talking about bankroll. You know, let's say you have 100,000 for your retirement, and then you have 100,000 in your bank, in your savings account, and you have another 100,000 that you want to put into this. I wouldn't use that 100,000. I'd go borrow 100,000 from a bank or whatever you need. You know, so this way you haven't touched a penny of yours. You know, you're using the bank's money. You know, you're paying back in interest, whatever it requires. You know, but you still have $300,000. You know, cash in case something. I mean, you know, you're not going to use it, but it just feels good to know it's there. It's a lot better than having zero in the bank, you know. So it's just some ideas to play around with. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe and like. Thank you.